নমস্কার, আমাদের যারা দর্শকবৃন্দ আছেন সবাইকে আমরা স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। আজকে একটা কিন্তু বিশেষ আমরা অনুষ্ঠান, আমরা মুখোমুখি হয়েছি কিন্তু দুজন ব্যক্তিত্বের সঙ্গে। আপনারা এনাদের কিন্তু আগেও চেনেন। তো ঘটনাটা ঘটেছে, এনারা একটা মহা কাণ্ড ঘটিয়েছে সর্বভারতীয় ক্ষেত্রে। এরা কিন্তু একটা মহাজোটের এরা তৈরি করেছেন এবং সেই জোট কিন্তু হিন্দু যারা আছেন, অর্থাৎ হিন্দু সংগঠন যেগুলো আছে, সেই হিন্দু সংগঠনগুলোকে একই ছাদের তলায় এসে যাতে কাজ করতে পারে সেই জন্য কিন্তু এরা কিন্তু একটা বড় কাজ করেছেন। সেটা হচ্ছে অখিল ভারতীয় বা সর্বভারতীয় হিন্দু মহাজোটের তৈরি করেছেন এনারা। तो पहले आप दोनों को हम वेलकम जनाते हैं कि ये जो इनिशिएटिव है, इस इनिशिएटिव का जो मेन रीज़न, व्हाट इज़ द मेन रीज़न ऑफ दैट इनिशिएटिव दैट ऑल द हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक ही अंडर वन अम्ब्रेला आए और काम करे? क्यों ऐसा, जो इसका जो नेसेसिटी क्या है, व्हाट इज़ द मेन रीज़न?
राधेश्याम जी, देखिए, पहले तो आपका जो चैनल है, हम बहुत शुक्रगुजार है। वी आर वेरी थैंकफुल टू योर चैनल दैट व्हेन वी वेर वर्किंग फॉर अखिल भारत हिंदू महासभा एंड spearheading for the northeast and West Bengal, your channel gave us a lot of support in propagating the philosophy of Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma through this platform of Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha. Now you have to understand one thing, that the people of this nation are in majority Hindus, right? However, because our constitution, which was framed by Baba Saheb Ambedkar ji and others, and it was adopted in the Constituent Assembly, says that India is a secular country, we have continued with the tone of secularism from our independence days. And in that tone of secularism, we did show respect to the other communities who lived in peace and harmony with us. Today, in the context of 2021, as we see a China-Pakistan corridor emerging, Afghanistan being held by the Taliban, who are basically nothing but a terrorist organization, and we have seen how Bangladesh is acting towards the Hindu population. And don't forget that Bangladesh liberation in 1971 was a huge contribution of Indian Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister, Honorable late Indira Gandhi ji. So keeping all this in the perspective, today we feel that there is no other way and no means and ways other than to form a Hindu Rashtra, Bharatvarsh. Even if we should give away with the name of India, because our membership in United Nations is there. There are international laws and complications, but our lawmakers and our elected parliamentarians should start thinking very seriously of converting our name to Bharatvarsha, which is the Bharat Bhumi, and together with that declaring and take preparations to declare India as a Hindu Rashtra. Now, to do that, we need to call for a referendum in the country to change our constitution, because we have to understand what was written and relevant in 1947 and 1950 is not or may not be relevant in the 2021, as the perspective of global politics change across the borders of Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, then Yemen, all these places. We have seen the emergence of ISIS, we have seen the emergence of Taliban. The US forces had to leave, the Russian forces before that the old Soviet forces, they left, the NATO forces left. So India is now, our Pavitra Bharat Bhumi is exposed to a threat which we should counter, and for that requirement we need a hardline alliance within India, which is a Hindu alliance, which will strongly oppose any threat which is coming across our borders or from anywhere. So we were working with Hindu Mahasabha, the Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha, with the perspective that our Purvajas like Sri Lala Lajpat Rai ji, then Veer Savarkar ji, what they created for the people of India would be carried with the same sanctity and sacredness across decades. But Honorable Election Commission, we did RTIs. Rajiv had been instrumental in doing a lot of Right to Information Act, events with the Election Commission of India and to the Cabinet Secretariat. And the kind of letters and the kind of responses that we have got, the bottom line is there are 6 contenders to the national presidency, and none of them are being, as of now, accepted by Honorable Election Commission of India. There are many places where matters are, pending before Honorable High Courts, right? There are yachikas and affidavits constantly pouring in with the Election Commission and the courts. So we feel that the people of India, the Hindus of India, are basically cheated, right? This is not what Veer Savarkarji, or for that matter Lala Lajpat Rai ji, had dreamt of for Hindus. Because Hindu Mahasabha and the current format of Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha somewhere is a mismatch. And it seems that there is a gold rush. Why? Because Veer Savarkarji had been endowed with huge amount of donations, personal belongings, gifts, deeds for the nation by the people of India. And I think a very big section of the people who are into Hindu Mahasabha leadership today are basically aiming at that gold rush. Some having directions, some having no directions at all. We don't want to fall into the hands of wrong people. Neither.
But you both was that same. You belong to the same.
No, that's what I am explaining. So as soon as we got all these details from Election Commission of India, and we got another letter from Election Commission of India which clarified that the Hindu Mahasabha, the original Hindu Mahasabha, and this current form of Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha just got registered with Election Commission in 1997, right? After special hearings and all. You know that after the death of Gandhiji, Nathuram Godse, because he belonged to Hindu Mahasabha, the Hindu Mahasabha was banned. So there was a lot of transformation which has gone in between, which I am not discussing in this press conference. So in 1997, this registration was again given. So from 1997, people who had been in the helm of the leadership, what they have done, Rajiv and I, leave it in the hands of the people of India to testify, to judge, to evaluate. We are no one to evaluate that, we are no one to judge that. But to us, whatever documents we have nearly more than 600 pages of documents lying with us from Election Commission of India, tells us there are only power-hungry people, very corrupted, power-hungry people at the top, whose only one aim is to, be rich, be famous, but they are not thinking about the Hindu revival. They are not thinking about the Hindu unity. So we don't want to be a part of this game. So it was a very conscious decision taken by Rajiv, initiated by Rajiv, of course, and implemented by me, that we will form the great grand alliance of Hindu unity out here. जिसको Bengali में translation करेंगे तो we are saying भारतवर्षेर Hindu Mahajot, or you can say Sarva Bharatiya, that is all India Hindu Mahajot. Sometimes we can say ourselves as Jatiyo Hindu Mahajot, Bharatbarshe Jatiyo Hindu Mahajot. So whichever form you say, this is a front which we have kept in front of all the Hindu organizations, small and big. Now it is on the onus of them to come and join us if they want, if they feel that our future curriculum, and if they feel that our future agendas match to the true unity and revival of Hinduism in our country. Because देखिए ये सनातन धर्म है, ये किसी एक का नहीं है. It is not the property or ownership of anyone. It is the natural birthright of any Hindu across anywhere in the globe. So this grand alliance is formed, and we, through your media channel, Radhaji, would like to communicate to all the Hindus, be they be now staying in Uttar Pradesh, in Haryana, in Bihar, in Northeast, in West Bengal, in England, in Australia, wherever they are. We welcome them to be a part of this grand alliance, so that
Have you approached some?
See, we have the support of more than 20,000 young, youths. Both
Big organization.
lot of them are there. It's not about the big or small, right? No organization become big in one day, right? Rome was not built in a day. So we have the support of a huge number of people. We are just their voice. We have just brought their voice in front of your camera. That's all that we are doing. So Rajiv Nath Roy basically would be spearheading as the national spokesperson of this National Grand Alliance for Hindu Unity, or in Bengali as we call Bharatbarshe Jatiyo Hindu Mahajot. And I would be just working as a sevak, as a national convener or coordinator. And my job would be basically to bring in lot of organizations together on board of this mothership and club it in, keeping their identity intact. So it would be a mega front, right, which would be pan-India. Everybody would love to win elections. Everybody would like to send their candidates to the lawmaking bodies. But our focus would be primarily not to just send people for elections, but to work hand in hand with the central government and the state government. Wherever we are the son of the soil, we want to support the state government or the central government with our expertise. Our areas of expertise lie in foreign direct investments, economic policies, framing brand images for our own soil, in the foreign jurisdictions in front of the International Chamber of Commerce's and other bodies. Because we have been very poor in terms of the broad basing of inward investment into India. So we want to work hand in hand. We are saying this officially. Neither any government or any political party is our enemy, neither anybody is our friend, right? But this is an approach of complete inclusiveness of politics, that we want to don't want to exclude anyone, right? But we want to include, but we want to be inclusive on a common minimum agenda or program, right? Which is aimed at the development of the northeastern corridor along with Bengal. This is a huge gateway of future, as Rajiv had told in the previous media outreaches, that it's a $11 trillion future economy. Right. So our focus would be on that word $11 trillion economy. That's it. Whoever wants to join hands with us, whoever calls us, whoever wants expertise, whoever wants an outreach, we are there to support, we are there to lend our helping hand. But just for the sake of it, going and winning elections or targeting elections and anyhow getting the candidates elected is not the just first priority that we have in this Grand Alliance. We would be very selective in choosing people, organizations on this mothership, and we will try to deliver quality to our state first, because we are born and brought up in Bengal. So our first diligence is to this soil of Bengal. And of course we have northeastern states, the 7 northeastern sister states in our mind. Their development is for the greater development of India, because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, right? So this is a allegory. I don't want to say much about it. It might be seen in very different color, but the sun rises here. So the first development has to happen here. India has to understand that West Bengal is very important place. Kolkata is the epicenter. It's a future gateway of Southeast Asia. And that is what our front is going to brand, propagate, and we would act as a privileged soldiers of this land, that we are born in Bengal. We are proud that we are born in Bengal, and we want to do everything that we can do for Bengal.
Okay. What are the main challenges, Rajiv ji, to accumulate the such and Hindu organization? What are the challenges?
See, there are a lot of challenges are there. First challenge is forming a minimum common program. The second is without losing the entity of the person who is boarding the ship. We do not want anybody to lose their own identity. That is the first thing we want to say. In NDA, BJP is the major party. It is run by the BJP. But here, everybody will have equal share. It's not the number, it's the idea.
So Rajiv,
number of
Rajiv,
ideas.
what you are trying to say is basically you are talking about the homogeneity
Of
of
course.
power balance, right?
Not only people who are winning election, it is the winning of ideas. We want people who has the idea to come and join us
Correct.
and work for this country. It may be from at the down south, a person has an idea, a Hindu guy has an idea. Let him come and share the idea with him.
Not only individuals, very stalwart individuals, even organizations, they can come in. What we are trying to say, what Rajiv is trying to say in totality is what I said. We want to create a homogeneous environment of equal status and stakeholding for all, and in that equal status of homogeneity, we want everybody to come and nurture their work for the nation. And we will give equal stakeholding to everyone. Nobody is big and small out here. And it is not anybody's private property. It's an alliance. It's a composite, platform to come and work together towards nation building.
प्रीवियसली क्या देखा गया है कि ऐसे जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होता है, इसमें जो बॉडी होता है उसमें थोड़ा उसका विचारधारा, उसका जो ये है उसमें कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आ जाता है, तो आप इसको कैसे हैंडल करेंगे?
The basic thing is that this is as Rajiv said very correctly, very intelligently. It's about setting the ground rules first, right? The ground rule is very common. Most of the organizations, right, Hindu organizations, they are spearheaded by very knowledgeable and educated people, right, Rajiv? So basically everybody is educated. So everybody knows what they want to work with. If we find that somebody, their work and what we intend to do, that has a synergy, then only we will come together and work. We will not force anybody to come on board. We will not compel anybody to come on board. Neither we would go aggressive and try to eat away. This is not a merger and acquisition platform. This is not a corporate body. This is a socio-economic and socio-political alliance. Everybody has a free will to choose or reject us. So if anybody chooses us, we would have everything written on a piece of paper and signed by all of us on an agreement that we agree to take, this common minimum program ahead. And in down the line, as you correctly said, Radhiji, sometimes it might happen that there are organizations which might not feel that what they had dreamt of is becoming true. They are very open then to leave this platform. So there is no binding. There is the bonding is through human soul and human approach, but there is no legal binding that everybody will have to stay on board, right? And even if you don't like, you have to spearhead. No, it's all about a spontaneous reaction to Hindu unity. So wherever we will talk about Hindu revivalism, Sanatan Dharma, then building a Vedic system of knowledge system within the country, we want to really throw away this Western style of education system. Our history of this country needs to be rewritten. We need to also go to lot of other organizations and political parties and talk to the people who are so-called, I keep on seeing in media, they say that he is redundant in politics now. He is a spent force in politics now. So the so-called, redundant and spent forces are the people who have done iconic work. So our door is open for everyone, and we will also ensure that we go and knock many doors, right, to bring back the experience and expertise of the many which can serve the nation. So from here, one message we want to be very candid and clear. This is very strict with us. And Rajiv, I hope you agree what I say.
Of course. See, why I am saying so, it's not a party. It's a unity of ideas.
Unity of ideas driven by Sanatan Dharma and Hinduism. So what I was trying to say, the driving force should be nation building. Here individual organization or their own aspirations stay at the platform level. But the ultimate goal is nation building. So whoever wants nation building in whatever form they want, they can come and work together, right? And they can, as Rajiv rightly said, they can retain their own identity without destroying or without decimating or compromising their identity. They can work, and we can work together with a common minimum program. But if you were talking about Rajiv and I as a core initiator of this alliance, we have couple of agendas. One is economic development. We want to do massive skill development of our youths from college level, right? So that they are industry ready. By the time they are leaving the university or colleges, they are ready to be taken over by the industry. That is one area we are going to work heavily on.
But there is one more thing which we, as an Indian citizen from both of our side, want is compulsory military.
Yes, this is also going to be a major movement from us. We are going to advocate that every Indian boy or girl who has attained the age of 18 should have at least 2-year exposure first in NCC. NCC should be made compulsory in all schools and colleges. That's number one. And beyond NCC, after you come out of the university, you should serve the Indian Army for 2 compulsory years. This is keeping in mind that we are a large population. Though we are a large population, we must keep ourselves handy with the threats which lie across the border. And by that, you have seen the changes that has happened over the last 30 years in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Iran, in Iraq, in the entire Gulf region. There is that Syria we knew of is no more there. The Yemen we know of is not there. So you have seen how Turkey is behaving today, right? So we just cannot, keep on saying that Russia is our friend, Israel is our friend, US is our friend. That is international diplomacy. But we need to prepare our country. We need to prepare our country for the Akhand Bharat Varsha in future. And anybody who threats the borders of India, current borders of India, उनको करारा जवाब मिलेगा.
एक जो बात होता है कि पॉलिटिसाइज हो जा रहा है कि धर्म का, यहाँ पे एक तो ऐसा मूवमेंट हो रहा है कि धर्म जो है, रिलीजन जो है, उसको पॉलिटिसाइज कर रहा है लोग. ऐसा इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, I don't know how Rajiv will react to it. Rajiv, first your reaction. Then one small word I will add to you. If my neighbor is beating his wife, I can always call the police and say that my neighbor is beating his wife, please take care. Or I can also socially, move over there and stop the man from beating his wife. But let's not take the law in our hand. There's a constitution of this country. There are very educated people all around. People are seeing everything. Right? Now, you have to also leave certain things to Janadesh. Let people of India decide. Why do you want us, the hand few of politicians, to decide everything for the people of India? Let people also decide for the fate of politicians. Rajiv, your reaction? Am I wrong in saying this?
No, you are not wrong. But my stake here is, if you ask who started this politicization of religion, I would say it has started as soon as we turned ourselves a secular state. We have made people, a certain part of the population, to feel like they are only here to vote. Correct. They are increasing their number. They do not know how to control, and they are only here to give a certain boost. I want to ask a very simple question to all the politicians who are sitting in different assembly, including the parliament. In next 5 years, what is your plan for economic development? The answer is zero. What is the plan for industrial development? The answer is zero. What is the plan for education you have? The answer is zero. how you protect your food reserve? The answer is zero. If you are giving zero answer to every question, then you would get the zero answer for every answer also.
Right.
Now, if the question you ask, we can ask 100 questions. We say petrol prices are high. We ask government, they say the previous government has taken loan. But government failed to give us the correct data. We have to understand that the data today is the king. If we do not provide the correct data to the right people or the policy maker, then the policy which they are forming are on a wrong data. I would like to, one more thing I want to add here. See, politics is good. I would always say politician, they are trying to do a lot of things. But the quality of people who are controlling them or the bureaucrats, they are not having the correct frame of mind. Why I am saying so? I won't say all of them, but few are there. Now, we always say Pakistan and China is our enemy. But we forget to see just beside Bengal, we have a Bangladesh which is getting radicalized, and Hindu population from 17% in 1971 at the time of independence has reduced to just less than 10%. So 7% of the population, where the population has gone. My question to everyone, whoever is thinking that we are good here in India, I have only one thing to say. Everything that is good you are seeing here is not to be good in our future, because future will explode if we do not provide food to everyone. That is not the government or the people had to create a food environment or create employment for everyone. I won't say everything what I am saying, we have every answer to it, but then we should have a policy to have an answer for every question that has been asked here. If I ask the current government, what is the total GDP growth, they will give you a fabricated answer. GST, they have a huge number of answers they have got. Then why there is economic slowdown? If GST is high, then why there is an economic slowdown? If we ask this question, neither our finance ministry nor the people who are in the finance department will be able to give you the answer. Now, one more thing. If I go ahead and ask the RBI governor, he is not an economist, but he is a history professor. What a history professor would understand of economy? I have a very simple question. He is a bureaucrat, no question asked. He can give you a lot of answer, but bureaucracy is a special area and a finance is a special area. Now, we cannot answer everything through bureaucracy.
Sorry, I just had to move out because there was a very important call.
One thing you want to know, do you have any plan to increase the knowledge of religion in youth?
First of all, as Rajiv was rightly saying, I will first ask Rajiv to finish because he was talking on a very important point. Then I will go to answer your question, which is also a very vital question coming up.
Yes.
Rajiv, why don't you finish up?
Okay, now my question is, we have a finance minister, two finance ministers has been asked to remove or has been given resignation from RBI. Why the governor of RBI cannot complete their term? My question is very simple. Let Narendra Modi government answer this. Because you cannot have everything written in black and white.
There is a certain way, certain protocol everywhere. Reserve Bank of India, Income Tax Department, all these are regulatory bodies or quasi, government bodies, which should have a freedom of, the way they want to work for the development of the nation. So RBI should be given a free hand in the monetary policy. Income Tax Department, should not be always under the clutches of Finance Ministry. They have stalwarts. Let them decide how they want to collect the tax from the people. We have now a GST Council. We still saw a lot of hues and cries with the GST Council when everybody has said yes to them. This kind of politics is basically destroying our nation. Why? We are wasting our time fooling the people. Why don't you fight election, or why don't you as a political party get down to the people with agendas which are political? You are not taking any political agendas at all. You are not talking about the development of the economy. You are not taking what is the level next. This level next, nobody is talking. And another thing which we were talking with you, we spoke about, compulsory 2 years into NCC and then Indian Army. The next thing is managed healthcare. Our entire health system needs to be completely, if we ever, we come into power in totality, because our deep focus would be 2024 elections. If we come into power or we are into sizable numbers, we will advocate into various lawmaking bodies that first thing, every Indian citizen should have a medical card in his hand. And anybody, any Tom, Dick, Harry, be it a super specialty, we don't care, be it a government hospital, we don't care, they should be able to walk with that one medical card into that medical facility and get equal treatment anywhere in India. There should be complete homogeneity of healthcare with a price rationalization. We cannot let anybody, behave as they want to. I have seen so many medical bills. Rajiv has seen so many medical bills. There were so many complaints coming to us. Somewhere we saw that a patient received 16 liters of oxygen per day in the ICU. Now, who measured 16 liters? Has been charged the same 7,200 rupees. And when the same patient is on 3 liters of oxygen in the ICU, has been charged the same amount. 90% of our population, their patients and their relatives would not have the knowledge even to counter that. So basically, by cheating people, what we are doing, we are converting our nation into a skewed country where some people have a lot of wealth, others don't have anything. So we want to bring homogeneity in terms of access to education, access to managed healthcare, access to good health, and this military, compulsory NCC and compulsory military, induction is because we want to create a nation where youth from the day go is mentally strong, physically trained, right, and they're equipped with knowledge and skill to take on any situation that might come in front of the country. Because 30 years back, what we thought would be the world, today the world is a very different order altogether. So, Bharatbarshe Jatiyo Hindu Mahajot, or the National Grand Alliance for Hindu Unity, as we have formed this front, right, the forefront idea of that would be absolutely a social development of a structure, and we should be a service-oriented economy. We should give service to our people. It should not be a simple vote mechanics. No, we don't want to operate on the mandate of vote mechanics, right? So to answer you that. About religion, everybody as of now under the constitution of the country is free to practice his or her own religious faith. Now, free to practice his or her own religious faith means that you can practice your own faith without disturbing the other, right? By saying this, what we mean is that what you practice at home is up to you. But when you are practicing in a social space, the last word would be the Constitution of India.
Right.
So that's why we said, if we want to make this Akhand Bharat Bhumi, Pavitra Bharat Bhumi, if we want to make this Akhand Hindu Rashtra, right? Whatever we do, first we have to make the constitution very relevant to the need of this country today in 2021, and we have to think 10 years ahead. We have to bring in a lot of people, the social thinkers, the economists, the doctors, engineers, right? Every walk of people should be involved, right? And we should have a national referendum. We should ask the people of India. We have actually never given the chance to the people of India to decide what their constitution should look like. It has always been a top-heavy approach. Right. A few people have decided and they have thrown it in the face of the India. So we are demanding that we, as a political and as a socio-political and a socio-economic front, there should be a referendum on our Indian constitution, and we should reframe our Indian constitution. That's point one. Point two, the complete this IPC, CRPC, this our entire judicial system should be made very modern. Our entire administrative system, starting from the police at the lower level to bureaucracy, we should change the way it functions. And we should give judiciary lot of empowerment, lot of funding, so that they can also transform themselves into a modern judiciary. Because if you don't have a strong administration, if you don't have a strong judiciary in place, foreign direct investment or big time investors will not walk into your country with confidence. So while for the people you have to keep a socialist approach, for the business you have to give them a managed license to operate. They just cannot do
one window.
They just cannot do anything in this country. They also have to abide by the law of this country, right? So it has to be all managed, at all levels, with a equal level playing field for the people of our country, the businesses, any stakeholder who wants to come into this country and do work. And foremost thing to answer very specifically, religious, if anybody wants to know about the religion, I think their home, they can always have a private tutor or they can have a private, arrangement. A curriculum should be national curriculum adopted, right? And there should be no political interference. That's how we believe. If we have to think India as a modern country, right? We think ourselves as a first generation country, right? Gen X country, as we are saying always. Then we should stop interference into the educational curriculum of our country. We should let it leave to the experts to decide, and there should be one curriculum in this country. And the students of India, the child, when he goes into the school, should have the liberty to choose in which language he or she wants to study or take education. Our constitution has so many languages recognized at their end. So the prime agenda from our end, though we are a Hindu organization, we feel that everybody, every community should have a liberty to decide for themselves in which language they want to, but we would make 2 foreign languages. Every student has to choose from the very elementary stage 2 foreign languages to study. English would be one. If they want to, they can choose German, they can choose French, they can choose Spanish, they can choose Italian, but we will treat English as a foreign language. It is not the language of our country. And we as a Hindu organization, if we are a true Hindu organization, then our first and foremost demand as far as education should be, Sanskrit should be the link language and the main language and the official language of this country. Studying Sanskrit from day one in your school life should be made compulsory, followed by one regional language. You can choose your, the state's language. You have to choose another language which is adjacent to your state. So 2 languages, one Sanskrit, the main language you have to study, then your original mother language and one adjoining languages, and you can choose as an elementary a foreign language or you can leave it.
What is your ideas or views about women empowerment? these things?
Women, I would say, womb plus men. Our mothers give birth to us. We have to accept that truth. Without mothers, we are nowhere. Right? So, a woman gives birth to a child, and then only a child sees the sunlight. That is the, you should say, universal truth. Right? So, women should be given the first priority in the social sector. So, their education, their empowerment, their development should be a priority of this nation. And we actually,
Women education and their negligence.
No, that's what I'm saying. Education is very important because negligence comes from not getting educated, not knowing. So first give them the light of the knowledge, that's one, followed by, financial empowerment. We should empower our women financially so that they can take their decision from day one. We should not put them behind the, 200-year-old regime. And you will find so many dynasties like Gupta dynasty, Maurya dynasty and other dynasties where women were more proactive than we can even today think of, right? So we have to go a little bit into our ancient histories and past and do some research, and we will see that the women of our country have always taken a, leadership role. It's not that empowerment was there, empowerment was always there. We have destroyed our empowerment. So
So want to just get back those.
We want to get back to our roots. It's very important, Rajiv, to get back to our roots.
Of course,
we want to get back to our roots.
We cannot go ahead and teach somebody that women is a god. Women are not a god. Women are equal or more than a man. If we make a women study, you make the entire home to study.
It's very natural. The child as it grows stays with the mother. And the mother being educated, automatically empowers and educates the child. It changes the fate of the, child. And mothers have their love, their compassion, they have their bonding for the family. So it's very natural. It comes very naturally, So this is where, I come from. This is what I want to say, right? Very specifically.
A strong woman at home make the life easy for a man at the outer side of the world.
Correct.
To face the world. Because if we do not have a strong woman at home, we will not be working with a clear idea. Why I'm saying so? My wife is an individual wife and she works in a government sector. I have quit my job for this platform. So I am stronger right now because I do not have to think that what fate my son would be having. Because my wife is self-independent and self-made woman. Same way, my family, my home, my father, my mother, they were self-independent. So that is the reason I come from a background where I have seen my mother taking a lead role.
So this is very personal to us, but then, we have our mothers. Why today we propagate this women financial empowerment and all? Because we have seen our mothers working in schools and doing business and empowering them, and their empowerment has transformed into us to think very, openly and in a very open ecosystem for the women of today, right? So no biasness at all, right? Any further questions?
What is your message to our audience?
See, one message would be very loud and clear. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you should be an active participant in the development of your nation. Don't be naive. Don't say that it is the work of the politician. No, it is not the work of politician. It is also your duty to see that your ward, your council, your assembly, your legislative assembly and your Lok Sabha, they function well. So you should be constantly be inclusive in the development process, into the politics, whatever we call politics, whatever we call it, right, whatever name we give it, you should be inclusive into that and not exclusive. Don't sit on the fence and watch the football match. Be a part of the football match and make decisions for your society and the place where you live in, right? That's the straight message So choose consciously, work consciously towards national development, and be a part of this national development is the single message that we will give to the audience of West Bengal and whoever is watching this program. And Radhaji, thank you very much. And if any further questions are there, we will answer or we will wind up the press conference as of today.
हम आपका बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं कि आप इतना जो आपका बिजी शेड्यूल है उससे थोड़ा बहुत टाइम निकल के हमसे बात किए. वी आर वेरी 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 थैंकफुल. एंड हम चाहते हैं कि आप जो मंच जो यहाँ पे जो किए हैं वो अच्छे तरह से काम करे और इससे हमारा जो हिंदू समाज है और पूरा जो हमारा देश है, जो नेशन है, उसका बहुत तरक्की हो. इसके साथ में आपका बहुत शुक्रिया.
मैं यहाँ पे एक चीज़ ऐड करना चाहता हूँ. जब हम हिंदू समाज कहते हैं, हिंदू समाज का मतलब ये नहीं कि जो आदमी भगवान को मानता है वो भी हिंदू समाज का पार्ट है. जो भगवान को नहीं मानता है, सनातन धर्म में, वो भी हिंदू समाज का ही अंग है. कृपया आप
सबके अंदर ईश्वर है,
सबके अंदर ईश्वर है, सब ईश्वर के ही पुत्र है.
करेक्ट. और वंदे मातरम.
वंदे मातरम.
Thank you so much for this media press conference. Good.
Thank you.